right, everybody, welcome back to the Foreign Buckets Podcast, Episode 2. It's your host with the most, Chip Overseas. And I was trying not to say something corny in the intro like the host with the most, but I couldn't really think of anything else, to be honest. So it's your boy, Chip Overseas, the Foreign Buckets Podcast, Episode 2. Foreign Buckets is everything at the intersection of overseas and American hoops, all right? I bring you guys the latest and greatest storylines, unique storylines, not what everybody else tells you, not the ESPN storylines, the unique storylines about what's going on in the world of basketball. Emphasis on the world. All right. And I'm also a content creator. I work with the NBA, EuroLeague, but I also do basketball training. And if you're trying to get some elite training, hit me up in the DMs. I will respond about some training. But one thing I'm realizing now in the training community, because I'm fresh in the training community, I've been an overseas basketball player for about 9 months, 9 years. And now I'm new in the space of training. And there's a hot topic going around about, do kids need trainers? So let me just say my piece on kids needing trainers. Because nowadays everybody is up in arms about trainers, right? There was a viral clip of Kenyon Martin talking about training and how trainers are stealing money from parents and, kids need to be playing basketball. LeBron James also made a comment on his great podcast, Mind the Game. He made a comment about how back in the day, him and his boys would just play in the backyard and, that was their training. And I feel like a lot of NBA players, older NBA players, are losing perspective on the things that made them great. Oftentimes when people kind of help you in your path, you kind of don't think about what exactly they did in order for you to get to where you want to get to. The reason why I train is because a lot of the things that I was doing at a young age, I was the kid that had all the talent. I was the kid that was in the backyard hooping. I was the kid that was at the park nonstop. I would shovel the backyard. I would shovel a dang park if I needed to. And just playing ball. No formal education on basketball. I just like to hoop and I will just hoop. That was my story. And guess what? It was good because I had the natural abilities to get me to the points of, where other legitimate basketball minds would teach me the game. But I was like, I don't want to say I underachieved, but with my given abilities, I could have been a first round draft pick because I had the athleticism, but I didn't have the trainer. I didn't have the formal teaching of basketball. And so I think every kid needs somebody, like even these guys, when they're saying, like LeBron James, for example, there was a whole movie made around him having a trainer. Just because you didn't call him your personal trainer doesn't mean that your high school coach wasn't your first trainer. He made sure you went to workouts. He made sure that you knew real basketball. He made sure that you passed the ball the right way. He made sure that you shot the right way. You had the good form, good follow through, all that stuff. Those are trainers. Let's not overthink this thing, all right? Nowadays, I do agree. Sometimes these big-time trainers and even small-time trainers are in it just to, rip off parents, and they have incredibly high prices, and they teaching their kids 100 dribble move combination dribble. Yeah, there's a lot of BS out there, but when you find a good trainer, or when you find somebody that can teach your kid the right way to play basketball, invest in that. Because basketball is an investment. Everybody's spending money on it. You should too. And if you don't have the money, then yeah, you be the trainer. That's all this is. Everybody's saying how basketball is expensive. It ain't that expensive. All you need is a orange basketball and a hoop. Take your kid out. You got to sacrifice your time. Take your kid out and you train him. If you can't do that, find him a trainer. So I just wanted to start opening with that. But the real opening is I want to give you guys the rundown of overseas, the final scores of the big leagues, right? Outside of America, you have a big market in Europe, obviously, and that's where I specialize because I played there for 9 years, like I said in the intro. Let's take a look at who is doing good overseas. ACB, Spanish ACB. Real Madrid dominates Valencia basket 3-0 in the finals. Real Madrid has a big roster. I think I spoke about it on the last pod. A lot of smaller teams that are playing like really good with each other in Spain, specifically because basketball in Spain is such a team game. It's not just the biggest names on the paper wins. When I played in Spain, I played in the second and third division, but at the top of the division, it wasn't a guaranteed just the richest teams. Sometimes you get a really good coach. Sometimes you get the really good mix of guys that have been playing together for 2-3 years. These kinds of things can affect the outcome of a league. I mean, we see it in the NBA. Then we got the LNB Elite in France, where Paris basketball dominates Monaco in their final. Paris basketball, TJ Shorts, I want to give a quick shout out. He's one of the best guards in the world at the moment. Outside of the NBA. Let me not piss off my NBA fans. But TJ Shorts, if you haven't heard of him, go ahead and open up that next tab in your YouTube, in your internet browser, and look at another YouTube video. But TJ Shorts out of Paris basketball, he's got a lot of eyes from the NBA guys because two of his coaches now have left Europe to go coach in the NBA. First, it was Tomas Isalo, the Finnish basketball coach, who is now the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. And now, Thiago Splitter, his head coach in Paris, just decided to leave to go coach with Chauncey Billups and the Portland Trail Blazers. And so, those are two legitimate landing spots for a guy like Shorts. He just signed to the Greek club Panathinaikos. But if he ever has anything going on with his contract as far as, disputes or he doesn't sign an extension, I think he's a prime candidate to go to the NBA. Then you got the EuroLeague. Obviously, Fenerbahce dominated Monaco, but it's also worth noting that Mike James, one of the most famous overseas guys, didn't play in the French final, but he played in EuroLeague final against Fenerbahce, and he lost that. Hapoel Tel Aviv. I have a lot of Israeli followers. Basketball is so big in Israel, you guys will have no idea. But yeah, they dominated Gran Canaria in the Euro Cup finals. So that's just a quick run through of what's been going on around the world. And also in overseas news, we have one of the overseas pioneers, one of the great Showtime guards of overseas basketball, Milos Teodosic. I did a few videos on him for my social media stuff. If you guys haven't followed, go ahead and follow me now at Chip Overseas on TikTok and Instagram. But Mia Teodosic is a 2009 Eurobasket silver medalist, a 2014 FIBA Basketball World Cup silver medalist, 2018 Olympic Games silver medalist, FIBA Euro Cup Player of the Year 2010. It's Milos Teodosic. He's like big time, He's throwing behind the back, not behind his back. He does these passes where he throws it behind the defender. He wraps it around the defender's backside, and every one of his passes are on target. He was a 30-year-old rookie with the LA Clippers back in, I want to say 2018. So NBA fans might remember him from that stint right before Shea. I think he might have played with Shea, but definitely the DeAndre Jordan LA Clippers era. And I just want to give a shout out to a real legend, Milos Teodosic. Enjoy retirement. Much love to you. And it's not going to be a very long episode, so just let me get all my thoughts and everything out. Before I wrap up, I want to say that Malik Beasley got permanently banned from the NBA and all NBA dealings because he had a lot of debts and he was gambling on games and just doing a lot of things. I think he even owed his own barber like a $80,000 tab, and people are asking how do you owe a barber $80,000? I mean, it's not that he's getting charged $1,000 a cut, but a lot of times these guys have traveling barbers. So you might pay somebody's salary, say, all right, you know what? Come on a roll with me. Everywhere I go, you go, so I can get cut every 3 days. I don't like doing that because you'll get a hairline pushed back and You let somebody operate on your hair too much and they'll start taking advantage of land space, if you know what I mean. But he got bagged. There was a viral clip going around of him bringing a lead from down 9 to down 7 with like 7 seconds left on the clock. He inbounded the ball on one end and he speed dribbled all the way to the other end, put the layup up, and allegedly like that covered the spread for that game. And so like that was one of the red flags that investigators saw. That was one of the red flags that investigators saw to kind of tip them off. And there was other clips from that game where he didn't really look like he was giving the best effort. I wanted to touch on this because I played overseas basketball for 9 years. So I was approached. If you don't know about overseas basketball, I was approached so many times to throw games from different people. Like I was approached by my teammates because they were, I'm not going to say any countries, but there were countries where the top football, when I say football, I mean soccer. The top soccer division had a group of guys on each team that would control the outcome of games. And sometimes you'd see wild scores like 5-0. And if you're not on the inside, you wouldn't know. But like, yeah, those games are thrown. So like my boy, one of my countries that I played in was a degenerate gambler. And he approached me a number of times asking me to bet on the soccer games with him. But like he was so bad with gambling that like he'd run through his paycheck. It wasn't the most money. We weren't getting NBA money, but he'd run through his paycheck within like the first 2 weeks, just putting it all on bets. And then he'd have to ask the club for an advance on his next month because he was running through his money so fast. And so he had asked me to borrow some money too. And once I found out that he was using it to put on bets, like I'm not a gambling man. So that's not something that I was interested in. And I think those guys, they have no limits. So he went from that to then getting approached by the same group that was controlling like the organization that ran these players. They started asking him. They're like, hey, what do you play? And who knows, maybe he had to cover some of his debts or whatever the case is. But yeah, he asked me, he's like, would you be interested in making an extra, few $1,000s with me? And that's not something that I'm interested in. I really care about the integrity of the game and I care about my reputation. I was like 24 at the time. So I'm like, that's not something that I want to get caught with at 24 because then I might lose my career and who knows how long I'll be able to play. And I ended up playing for another 6 years. So, I mean, kudos for me. I don't know if this guy got caught. He doesn't play now and he didn't have as long as a career as me. But yeah, well, that was him. And yeah, just people don't understand. And there was also Terry Rozier that was caught kind of doing the same thing. In one night, they caught him, or not him, one of his associates. They caught somebody putting 30 bets on Terry Rozier in Vegas or wherever the heck they were. And every single one hit. So people were asking like, is Terry Rozier involved? So now he's getting investigated. And first off, you have to be so sharp as an investigator with these things because I imagine now like people are so witty and so like intelligent about hiding their gambling efforts that for you to catch that, man, like I feel like I would feel very good about myself as if I was an investigator that caught an NBA player gambling on games. I mean, you would think that they wouldn't need the money. But you never know what people are doing with their money. And they ain't getting all their money up front. They're getting it in installments like everybody else. So who knows how much money these guys are spending on the weekly basis or on the monthly basis. Anyways, off of Terry Rozier, there was another time that I got approached by one of my ex-teammates. I was playing in an Eastern European country. And he said, hey, people been asking me about you. Are you down to make an extra $50,000? So when I heard that, I'm like, yeah, I'm down to make $50,000. Like, because this guy's a basketball player. I'm a basketball player. So I'm thinking yeah, he's got a team that's asking about me. So I'm like, yeah, I'm interested, bro. Let me, what's up? Give me the details. He's like, and he knows me, like I'm pretty straightforward with all my stuff, like pretty morally sound, especially within that profession where a lot of people are kind of teetering the line of acceptable versus non acceptable. But that's a video for another day. And he's like, nah, bro. Like, they asking about you. I'm like, what you mean by asking about you? He's like, yeah, they do games. They control games. And they want to know if you're willing to play ball. No pun intended. He didn't say that part. I'm saying that part. The pun part. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, that's something totally different, brother. Immediately, I was like, nah. I told him, I was like, I don't really play like that. I think I made something up like, yeah, my team really has to win these games, and I'm trying to, get bonuses out of my contract. But I really wasn't interested in it. And he's like trying to sell me on it. He's like, yo, man, like one of my teammates did it. They come fly to your apartment, put the cash right down in front of your face. These are just like some mobster guys. That's why I'm not going to say what country these people are from because I don't want them to come after me. I don't know what kind of connections they have, man. They got Americans on board. They got Europeans on board. Anyway, they come to your crib. They put the money on the table. They say, hey, get 2 or 3 of your teammates. Cover the spread. They don't really bet on players per se. They bet on the outcome of the games. Cover the spread, win the game or lose the game, whatever. And you get to keep this money. This money's yours. These guys have a lot of money. They got a lot of cash. I don't know where the cash comes from, but I could take a wild guess. And then immediately I thought the guy that texted me, I was like, I know you're doing it. Like, he's trying to tell me, oh, I'm clean. I never did it. But you play in a league where, they're doing it. So in case you wanted to, like, it's there. And then I started thinking about my league. I was like, the outcomes of the games, like there would be times, kid you not, where my coach would come up to me and say, this team is going to lose to that team. And it'd be like one of the favorites of the league, like one of the top teams in the league. He'd tell me like, yeah, that team is going to lose today to like the weakest team. So I was like thinking about those instances where he had said that he was never wrong. Like I was thinking he's like some type of magician. Like this guy knows so much about basketball. Like he's just never fucking wrong. But then it started to click. I was like, oh, he must be on the inside. Because the people that ran my team were kind of shady in that way where, yeah, they had a lot of money. They were young and he wasn't really sure where they got money. Like the things that they were saying got them money didn't really make a lot of money. And their parents weren't like super rich, so it wasn't generational. And yeah, they just had money. They had cash. Like they paid me in cash. I told them wire my stuff. They was like, yeah, no. I signed in the contract to get my stuff wired to my American account, and the president literally paid me in straight cash every time. Like he would give me the dollars. He would give me the currency of the country. I remember thinking like, and I told him, I said, I'm not walking around with all this cash. He's like, I don't know how you're going to get I don't know what you're going to do. And that team had a problem with coming up with the money anyway. So whenever the money came, I just accepted it. But then I'd give it back to the president and tell him just wire me from your American account, which he did. So yeah, I was thinking that this stuff happens so often overseas. I'm glad that there's no real tolerance for that in America because I know here they look at those, especially certain countries, the people at the top may even be involved. Like, people are so lucky that the NBA is such a pure product from that standpoint. And you'd be surprised at how important some of the organizations that do these kinds of things are. Malik Beasley and Terry Rozier weren't acting on their own accord, and they're not the only NBA players to be doing this. I'm not saying that they all do it, but look how big sports gambling has become in the last 5-10 years. Everybody knows somebody. Like, these guys in the NBA are exposed to such a high net worth group of people, everybody doesn't get their money the legal way. And if you can make a few $1,000,000 untaxed, people are gonna go for it. So that's something to definitely keep your eye on, but also put it in perspective. The NBA has done a great job with regulating these kinds of behaviors and disciplining people the right ways for when they do get caught. Because, there's no space for that. Once you get into that territory, you just can't control who gets involved with it. If you let one thing go, you never know how that influences the next crop of players. So if there is a rumor going around or there's a feeling going around in the NBA now that players control the outcomes of their own performances and players are covering spreads and players are letting their friends make easy money, then the young kids are going to come in and do the same exact stuff. To bring it back to me, when that stuff happened overseas and they'd ask me, that same guy messaged me like 3 or 4 times. I'll leak the text messages. He asked me again later on in the year. Then he asked me for playoffs. He's like, yo, you sure? They calling me again. I'm like, why they keep calling you then? You telling me you're not doing this. They keep calling you, bro. I know what you're doing, bro. Yeah, I seen the money. He put the money on the table for my teammate. Not for me, though. But I seen it. I was there. All right, man, go take the money. You worried about me. He probably get a commission for putting on other people. The organization runs deep. And that's your episode for today. Foreign Buckets Podcast. I'll be back next week. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment if you're in a different country or you have some kind of information about these kinds of things, because most people don't know about it. It's kind of a new thing in the mainstream. People have been fixing games, but now people want to know about that. So comment if you ever had any experience with that, if you were a player or a fan, or if you ever suspected somebody to be doing that. Whatever the case is, let me know in the comments, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Peace.